I wasn't ready! Hello, and this is Big Bang Bot, and today I'll be reviewing Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, for the PS2. Wait. What do you mean I'm not supposed to be reviewing this game? I've got the game out, I've just done the intro. Of course I'm gonna review this game. What, you say I don't? You say that I've told everyone, a few people, and even, possibly even made a trailer on another game that I'll be reviewing? What game are you talking about, sir? Oh, you're talking about Ratchet and Clank. Okay. Hello, and this is Big Man Bot. In case you weren't paying attention for the last 30 seconds, or if you didn't read the title, or if you're just plain stupid, or if you can't understand a single word of English, in that case, please leave. I apologise to all of you non-English speakers. I know you have zero idea what the beep that I'm saying, but basically, go out of the door. Okay? All of you foreigners out there? Good. Now can carry on. Anyway, I will be reviewing Ratchet and Clank for the Microsoft GameCube. Oh, have I been eating too much sugar again? I think I have. I meant the Sony PlayStation 2. That was an intentional joke, guys. Anyway, the history of the game went a bit like this. After creating the Spyro trilogy, Insomniac basically let Spyro go, and they gave him to other developers, and his future results were, well, not as well received. But anyway, that didn't matter because Insomniac Games are working on Insomniac game number 5 after the Spyro trilogy. In case you want to know what their first game was, or Insomniac game number 1, it was a PS1 first-person shooter called Disruptor. And also, what the beep does this piece of beep have to do with Disruptor? Can someone please tell me? Anyway, after like 2 years of stuff happening, this game was released on the PS2 back in November of 2002. Well, December 2002 in Japan, but yeah! And this game received very, very positive reviews. In fact, official PlayStation Magazine US gave it a 10 out of 10. You don't believe me. You don't believe me. You seriously don't believe me, Clank? You know, Clank and all of you other idiots. You want proof? There's proof. Wikipedia says it. Which means that it must be 100% true. Oh, shut up, Clank. And if you don't shut up, I will not be happy. At all. But anyway, this game sold very well, almost as well as the original Jak and Daxter, selling, well, over 3 million copies. In fact, according to Wikipedia over here, it was the first, or the only, PS2 game to be bundled with the PS2 in Japan. So that's something. And unlike Jak and Daxter over there, little loner right here, this game was actually pretty successful in Japan, even though Jak and Daxter still got the best release in Japan, so that's something. But anyway, that's enough going on about random stuff. I'm just gonna play the game now. Stupid Microsoft GameCube.
Why do video game reviewers have so much trouble with your consoles? Just put the goddamn game in like a normal person.
Nah, lying now. What kind of video game reviewer would I be if I didn't do the old wrong console gang? It's a classic that every game reviewer should do until it's just not funny. Oh wait.
stealing jokes aside, I'm not telling you a story. I just despise telling the stories of games in my reviews. I just despise it. You don't even know how much I hate it. So if you want to know the story, why don't you look it up on Ratchet and Clank Wiki, or play the game for yourself. You can choose which one to do, but I just don't care about the stories in games. The thing I care about is the gameplay, and that's what I'll be getting into right now. I spent £500 for this piece of beep. It doesn't even work. I don't even know why. It turns out that was came in like new condition, but it doesn't even work. I've tried so many games on it, such as Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Ratchet, Clank, Doors of Distraction. This beeping thing still doesn't work. You stupid Microsoft poop cube. I'd rather poo in you than play games on you. You stupid box. In the game, you get to play as Ratchet. And sometimes Clank. That's it, 10 out of 10, best game ever. Can you play as Daxter, Jack Daxter? Beep, no you can't. But in this game, you can play as Clank. 10 out of 10, best game ever. Shut up. I'm going to explain things in more detail. Because, you know, that's how my reviews work. I mean, seriously, look at how long my Super Smash Bros. Wii U review was. Man, that was such a long and informative review. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm fully aware that Daxter is playable in the sequels to Jak Daxter, such as Jak 2, Jak 3, Jak X, Daxter, Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier. So shut up! The gameplay of this game goes like this. Anyway, you and Ratchet have to basically go around the universe and stop this evil guy called Chairman Drag. And basically you have to kill everything that comes into your path. Man, that's something. So you basically travel all around the galaxy, kill enemies, get weapons, get gadgets, and enjoy doing beats such as that. So, yeah. Hope you like fighting people, because you'll be doing that a lot in this game. Anyway, Ratchet's main weapon is a wrench, which he basically swings at enemies to destroy them. And this wrench is actually quite powerful. You'll be using it a lot in the earlier parts in the game. Well, you won't in the later parts, but at least at the beginning of this game, this weapon is very powerful and can easily take out these enemies in 1 or 2 hits, which makes the secondary weapons kind of pointless. And oh yes, this game has a whole bunch of secondary weapons. How many, you might be wondering? Quite a few, in fact. There are like, I don't know, maybe 15 of them. And all of these weapons all have their different purposes. Anyway, you have a whole bunch of weapons, such as the bomb glove, which you can throw at your enemies and it will explode. And you've also got a blaster and a fire shooter, which you can burn enemies and shoot enemies with. And there are a whole bunch of other weapons, such as a missile launcher, which you can launch at enemies to kill them. Oh yeah! And you've got a whole bunch of other weapons, such as a controllable weapon. You've got some more. You've got a suck cannon where you can suck up enemies, which is actually a pretty cool weapon. And it's even better in the 3rd game in the series. You still got to wait for that though. And then there's the best weapon in the whole game, the Rip Ya a New One.
What did you just say to me? R-Y-N-O. Rip Ya a New One.
That's a weird name for a weapon, which gives me an idea to make my own weapon. And I actually made one. Introducing my GMAS, or GMAS. And what's the full name for that, you might be asking? Well, it's...
Get me awesome!
Allow me to demonstrate Diddy Kong. What? No, I would never, ever do that for you, Big Bang Bot. Now, Do you just get some spray cleaner from your kitchen? Nope! This is a GERR. A what? Unfortunately, this thing doesn't work. Ha! It doesn't work! You can never squirt me with that! It stings so much! So, Diddy Kong, will you... Now?
12 seconds later.
Universe A.
Yes! SpongeBob! SpongeBob! Yes! Yes! SpongeBob! 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 Oh my God! SpongeBob! SpongeBob reference!
Universe. Here's your sandwich, Big Bad Bot, and I know that it's technically a roll with peanut butter in, but shut up and eat it. Okay, I'll eat it. That's actually quite nice. Thank you, Diddy. You're very welcome. But next time you get me tuna. No! Or else. Okay, I'll go get tuna. Boom! He's not going to return with tuna until another day. The GERR. It gets you a sandwich every single time you spray someone with it. And it only costs 10 trillion bolts. The reason why the Rhino is so awesome is because it basically shoots 6 giant, powerful missiles at once, and you can use a grand total of 50. 50 times 6 equals 300. This weapon is so OP. This weapon is so much fun to use. Now, surely it's 150,000 bolts, and trust me, in this first game, that's a beep ton. You can, of course, use glitches to get it out earlier, and trust me, you'll want to do that. And I mean it, you will want to do that. Because as soon as you get the Rhino, nothing can stop you. The game becomes absolute carnage, you can destroy everything, the game's no longer as difficult, and overall it just makes the game not as hard. Also, props to the decoy glove, which you could basically use to clip out bounds in a lot of areas, and basically it's kinda broken. That's all I'm saying. And while it is finicky trying to get this correct, especially in some areas where it can be really difficult, it can still work sometimes, and when it does work, the results can actually be kind of funny. But, you know, it doesn't always work. And as soon as you get the decoy glove, that's when you can start going out bounds to get infinite bolts and obtain the Rhino halfway through the game. And you'll want to do that. The weapons in this game are, well, kinda mixed. Now, they're not terrible, but there are just some weapons which are so obviously better than others. There's a suck cannon, which is pretty good for killing smaller enemies, especially the gold version. And not to mention the Rhino, which I've already mentioned, which is basically overpowered as B. Seriously, this Rhino is just so strong, and you can destroy absolutely everything with this Rhino. At the beginning of the game, you won't even use weapons that much. You'll just be killing everything with your wrench, showing that your wrench has pretty good strength. And then later on in the game, you may use a few weapons, but then once you get the decoy glove, you'll probably use it in real guard to get out of bounds into the racetrack by playing as Ratchet normally, so that you can use the Taunter to do the infinite bolts glitch and basically get enough bolts to, you know, afford the Rhino, and then you'll use the Rhino and you'll just destroy everything with the Rhino, and basically the Rhino is OP. The beeping end. Then there are the bolts, which I've already mentioned, but basically the bolts are this game's equivalent of currency. So I'm guessing that in the 54th century, bolts become widely known across the entire universe, and they get spread all across the universe, probably because something happens to Earth or something like that. Basically, you can find bolts lying around in enemies or these crates. Sound familiar? Anyway, inside these crates are usually bolts. There's the plain ones, which give you bolts. The ones with a G on them, which give you ammo for any of your weapons, with the exception of the Rhino, where you have to buy the ammo, and I definitely recommend you buy ammo in this game. It's not that expensive. There's these blue ones, which restore your health. By the way, you have 4 hits and you're dead, but you can buy an upgrade. But you can upgrade them to 5 with your bolts, and you can pay more bolts to bring it up to 8. So that's also something. Then there are the red ones, which once you touch decide to explode unless you decide to hit them. There are also metal boxes which you can only destroy with explosives, but you know, I'm not showing them to you, so haha. Now I'm going to talk about Clank. Now Clank tags along with you on your journey, but unlike Daxter, I'm funny. Not really. Clank can actually be helpful. I mean, you could use him to help you glide with his helicopter pack, and he's also got a jet pack, which you have to get into with the pause menu. He's also got a hydro pack, which you use underwater to make you swim faster. He also can help you glide, and basically Clank is kind of helpful in this game. And unlike Flood, Clank is actually kind of helpful and not finicky at all, not a stupid gimmick. So I appreciate Clank in this game. In the game, you can also play as Clank, and basically there aren't that many levels where you play as Clank, but most people have compared Clank's gameplay to Pikmin, a game which I've only really played of the third game of in its franchise, and it's not for me. The end. But anyway, you just play as Clank, you make these little robots follow you, and basically they do all of your dirty work. And you have to do some decent puzzle solving with them, and overall it's a decent change of pace, but it's really not that necessary. I mean, sure, it's nice that you can play as Clank, but it just makes you wish that you're playing as Ratchet, because playing as Ratchet is so much more fun than playing as slow Clank. And this is especially more annoying in the sequel, because the sequel is basically beautiful, but that's enough. Basically, these sections are interesting, but I would rather play as Ratchet. But it's still nice that Clank is more useful than Daxter, and he's, you know, actually playable. He's not as finicky as Flood. So that's enough. There's even one section where you can play as giant bleeping Clank! You can punch everything, you're super powerful, and you can murder everything in your path, and basically it's a big ton of fun. Okay, it's not, because you go a bit too slow, but it's still cool nonetheless. Too bad there's only one section like this in the whole game. It's a lot better than his regular gameplay. And yeah, it's cool, the end. There are even 2 racing sections in this game, which are kinda like the racing sections in Spyro 3, but they're not as good in my opinion. I mean, you can still do all of the cool tricks, and you've even got weapons this time, but it just feels slower, and not as fun. Now, I'm glad that they kept the formula from Spyro 3, because the racing in Spyro 3 was really cool. And it's still cool here, but it's not as cool as it was in Spyro 3. But that's just my own opinion. And those are those metal boxes I was talking about earlier. Yeah, I never showed proof that they existed. And you can also go through rings, and you can do stuff, and you can jump, and yeah. And there's even these 3 rings right here, and if you go through all 3 of them in order, you will open up a secret shortcut or route in this second racetrack, and there's only really 2 of them in the whole game. I wonder where they got that from. Universe A. Wow! This is actually really original! I've never played a whole game in my whole life which does that! That is so cool! I'm surprised that there's been no other games whatsoever that's done it, and I looked it up! No other games have done it before or after! This is just so interesting! What? You mean this? This game? This game doesn't exist! What is this game? I don't know what this game is! I can't read! I don't know what this game is! Guys? This is completely original! No other game has done it! Woo! Universe. Wait! I remember another game which did this! No! 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 Go away from me, Monsters to Walk as much as no! 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 I'd also like to mention that I spent £8 on this game brand new. That's right. I actually decided to do that. That's probably £8 I'll never get back, and it's my own money, but hey, it was cheap and brand new. The end. I don't want to play this game again! Incoming joke I haven't used in a while in 3, 2, 1! Beep. With these gold bolts you can unlock gold weapons, and I don't know the exact amount, but I haven't got all of them, so that's something I had to mention. And basically these gold weapons are basically more powerful than the regular versions of these weapons, and trust me, it's really cool getting these new gold weapons. Especially with the OP-ness of the Rhino. It's nice to get more powerful weapons of versions of your old weapons. It's definitely cool. Although you do have to pay normal bolts and gold bolts, it's still a cool addition, which I do like. The controls in this game are basically these. You jump with the X button, you can double jump by pressing the X again while in mid-air, and you can use your wrench with the square button. You can use your weapons with the circle button, and you can go into your quick select with the triangle button. The game does not pause when you do this, which is, you know what, extremely annoying. And you can go into first person mode using L2 or R2, and you can use long jumps by holding down R1 or R2 and pressing the jump button. And to do a long jump, run, hold the duck button, which you use for long high jumps as well, and press the jump button. The controls are basic and they work really well in my opinion. I had no trouble with the controls whatsoever, and even the camera's not that bad. Now surely when you start the game off it's, you know, inverted, but, and this is a but, unlike some games, such as the three I'm showing here, you can actually turn the invertedness of the camera off, so you can use the camera normally, like a normal person. This is really nice, which, you know, these three games could really benefit from. And yeah, basically the game controls really well. I really do like the controls. They're nice and solid. The camera's actually kind of decent. And overall, the controls in this game are great. And you can also do that slam attack while in the air by pressing this red button while jumping. So that's something. Also, there are a whole bunch of items which you can collect, or gadgets as the game calls them, which you use for puzzle solving and getting through some boss levels, such as the Trespasser, the Hydro Displacer, the Swing Shot, the Gadgetron PDA, which, you know, lets you use the Gadgetron shot whenever you want, just that everything's more expensive. And you've got the Metal Detector, which can pick up bolts if you use it in the right place. And there's also the Hologeist, which turns you into this robot. You don't get it until the end of the game, and it's actually useless since you can bypass all of the sections. We actually need to use it. Yeah. That's something I had to mention because it's an essential to the game. And just like the Spyro games, the game also has skill points. Now in the Spyro games, skill points were certain tasks that you had to do. And once you did those tasks, you would get a skill point. And if you got enough skill points, you would get an extended ending. And in Ratchet and Clank, the skill points are additional tasks that you can do, and once you do the tasks, you get a skill point, and once you get enough skill points, you get a reward. Basically, the skill points are the same as they are in the Spyro games, and they're just as worthless in this game as in the Spyro games. The graphics in this game are pretty good, and you can also do these two things with the jetpack, so that's something, I guess. Now, the graphics in this game are pretty good. Now, one of the main things that the game was praised for back when it was released are the graphics, and the graphics are pretty nice for a PS2 game released in 2002. However, there are quite a few pop-in errors, and when I say quite a few, I mean quite a few. And they're kind of obvious, and very common, which isn't a good thing. And there's those metal boxes I was talking about earlier, which I gave you no proof that they existed. And now I am giving you proof that they exist, and there could also be a few glitchy textures, but other than that, the game still does look pretty nice. And the game actually mostly has a solid frame rate. Spyro! Man, why does nobody like me? Spyro the Dragonfly? Listen, I do like you. Now, you're a terrible gamer and all. You do suck, but I still like you. You're enjoyably bad. I do like you. Same with you, Sonic Boom Riser Lyric. Same thing. Both of you are bad games. Very bad. But I still enjoy playing you. So don't feel all lonely. That and the old Spyro games had lag quite a bit, so don't feel completely lonely. Enter the Dragonfly. You good? Yeah, that's nice and good. This game also has a pretty good soundtrack. Now, I will admit that it's not as good as Spyro 2's soundtrack, but the soundtrack is still pretty nice to listen to in this game. I mean, surely most of the songs are average at best. There are still no terrible songs, unlike Spyro 3 and Sergeant Bird. The songs are decent, and there are actually some pretty good songs. The best song in this game is Kerwan. The end. It's such a cool theme, and it's just nice to listen to. I mean, seriously, it's just cool, and it's futuristic. Just like this game. This game was set in the 54th century. This is what the 54th century is gonna look like. And a whole bunch of planets in this game look like Earth. which is interesting considering that Earth isn't in the entire series to my knowledge. What? I only became a fan very, very, very recently, yet I've played this game since I was young. And the sound effects are also pretty nice, and they basically stole a couple of sound effects from Spyro the Dragon, particularly the burning sound effect. But to be fair, Insomniac did develop both Spyro and Ratchet Clank, so I can look over that. And it is pretty cool to hear them in this game, I must admit. Now, if it was some other game made by completely different developers, I would still find it interesting. Considering that Insomniac made both games, it's just nice to hear them. And the voice acting is also not too bad either, and the lip syncing's pretty good. Unlike you. And the character models and designs are also pretty memorable. I mean, even after not playing the game for quite a while, you will still remember the characters. Because when you see them in like the sequels and online, you might even remember meeting them, which is pretty cool. But now, I have to move on to the negatives. And the music of Planet Rilgas strangely reminds you of the TV horror levels from Gex Enter the Gecko, except that it's 5 times less creepy and 10 times more upbeat and catchy. I like that. It has a familiar tune from another game, and yet it still sounds different and cool, and it fits the atmosphere. That is quite cool. The end. Yes, there are bad things with this game. First off, the game can get pretty difficult sometimes. Now, while this isn't a bad thing, it can get annoying when the difficulty just jumps up a ton. Second off, the decoy glove is a little bit weird. Now, this is only a problem if you like cheating like me, but this is just weird. In some planets, you're allowed to bring it all the way up in front of you, but in others, you can't. Which is just really awkward. I don't get this. Why? It's just weird. It's just so weird. Why make it this inconsistent? It's just weird. Now, this is a minor thing, but it's still weird, and another thing I don't like is that the game doesn't pause while you're scrolling through weapons, so enemies can easily hit you while you're trying to switch weapons. Sure, you can pause the game, but it still would have been nice to have the option, and you could only really strafe by using this, you know, rocket pack. And while I don't think this is a huge deal, since I don't really strafe much in the franchise anyway, it's still annoying that you can't strafe normally, and I never use the strafe feature with the rocket packs. This is just weird, and I really, really, really don't like the wall jumping in this game. First off, you don't know what wall jumps or walls you can jump off of, and second off, it's so finicky. He just jumps off the wall whenever he feels like it, and when you can jump off the wall, it's very likely that you won't want to jump off the wall, and you won't be expecting it, and you may end up killing yourself if you're unlucky. It's just weird, and I don't get it at all, and it's basically weird. This is a minor complaint, but in order to skip cutscenes, you don't just have to press start, unless you've already seen it, or if it's a cutscene at the very beginning of the game. You have to hold L1, L2, R1, R2, and then push start. It's so weird. And I mean it, it's just so weird. Now, surely it's nicer than not being able to skip cutscenes, but it's still kind of annoying that you have to perform some weird button combination that you wouldn't immediately guess. That is kind of annoying. And now I'm going to complain about the side jump. In order to do the side jump, you have to hold the duck button, hold left or right, and then press the jump button. It seems simple enough, but sometimes when you're trying to do a high jump, you will accidentally perform a side flip. This happened to me multiple times, and especially when you're trying to use high jumps for glitches, it can be pretty annoying. And trust me, this swing shot is kind of annoying. You don't know exactly how far you can actually shoot this, and when you do shoot it, sometimes you don't expect it, so you'll just grab onto it and you'll just fall to your death, which can be pretty annoying. Eventually you can get the hang of it, but at least at the beginning, or for most of the journey throughout multiple games, this can be kind of annoying and it can lead to some cheap deaths. But that's practically everything bad I have to say about this game. That and the decoy glove is kind of broken, but this is actually kind of funny, and I do enjoy using the decoy glove for glitches. And they did learn their lesson when they made the sequel, which makes the decoy glove even more fun when you try out, glitching with it in the sequel, which still works just as well, if not better. So that's cool. Other than that, this game has a lot to like about it. I mean, it's fun, it's enjoyable, the combat's fun. While there isn't really an incentive to use weapons in this game, it's still fun just beating up your enemies. The platforming's great, the graphics are nice, even if there are tons of pop-in issues and some glitchy textures. The music, while not the best in the world, it's still fun to listen to, and there are still some pretty cool songs. The controls work perfectly, and overall the game is just very good. There are quite a few problems in this game, such as there's no incentive to use your weapons. The New Game Plus mode also exists, where you can replay the game with all of your weapons and gadgets, but you know, the problem with that is that there's no reason to. They gave you more incentive in the sequels, but not in this first game. And overall, this game is just really fun. There's not really too much to dislike about this game, other than some finicky things in the game. And trust me, I may have said that the decoy glove is glitchy, but that's why I love it. I just love this decoy glove. It's glitchy, it's weird, and that's why I love it. It's completely broken. You can practically break the game with it. I just love it so much. I love glitches in my games to begin with, and the fact that there's a weapon which is practically broken is just so much fun. It's the second most useful weapon in the game, next to the Rhino. And while it's useless in combat, it's very useful for glitches, and I just really enjoy it. The Rhino's amazing, and overall this is a really solid game. That was almost as annoying as the Microsoft GameCube! Universe A. Overall, the original Ratchet and Clank is a piece of beep.
What did you just say to me?
Let me rephrase that. Ratchet, beep you, beep your parents, beep your creator, beep everything about you. Universe. Overall, the original Ratchet and Clank is a pretty good game in my opinion. Now, is it perfect? No. One thing I mentioned that I don't like is that you can't see what the skill points actually are until you've beaten the game, which is quite disappointing. But overall, this game is still pretty fun. It's got some good graphics, good music, good controls, and overall it's a pretty good game. I'd give it a B+. Now, I wouldn't give it an A because this game does have quite a few flaws with it, but it's the first game in its franchise, so I can kind of accept that, even though some first installments of franchises don't always get a free pass. Super Mario Kart. but this game is still very fun, and I do recommend you pick it up. Now, this game is pretty common online. You can find it for pretty cheap online. I'm sure you can. And overall, you can just go find this game. I recommend you play it. It's a good game. And what came out of this series after this first game? Well, the game got a sequel, which was one of the best playing games I've ever played! And that was the third game in the series, which was an epic conclusion. While it wasn't as amazing as the second game, it was still a great finale to the trilogy, and basically, Insomniac thankfully didn't pull off another Spyro 3. And there were a bunch of other games in the series, and I've played all of them. I've played Tools of Destruction. That game's pretty good, even though it's definitely not the best in the series. Not the most fun. And I've also played Size Matters, which is also pretty good, and yeah, basically I've recently come to really like this franchise. Why? I thank this game. Now, while I owned both the first game and Tools of Destruction when I was a kid, I wasn't really a big fan of them and didn't really play them a ton, especially Tools of Destruction. First game I played more, but still was a huge fan of it, and I still rarely played it. But I'm so glad I picked up the second game. I'm just so glad. It's definitely an investment that's worth making. Seriously, this game's like amazing. But anyway, this game gets a B+. Buy it. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. And play Ratchet and Clank 2! This is Big Bang Bot signing out. Now I'm just gonna check all of the skill points I missed in the first Ratchet and Clank, which is a beat ton. Wow! Insomniac can predict the future!